Hi guys, welcome to Middle Tennessee Fishing and Beyond. I went fishing yesterday. I caught some nice flatheads. I kept two of the smaller ones. And I'm going to do a little tutorial on how I clean catfish. I mainly only keep flatheads and blue cats. Plan on keeping a catfish. The first thing I do is dispatch them. I cut their tail off. I also cut their throat, let them bleed out really fast. Then I'll put them directly on ice. I'm going to break this down into 4 different sections. When I clean a flathead, I like to clean or cut the tail section off first. I'll get the fillet there. Then I'll go to the shoulder meat here. Then I'll go to the cheek meat. Lastly, I'll get the belly meat off. When I do get the belly meat off, if you've got the fish upside down, I always take the right side off first. That's just the way I do it. They have a gallbladder here. I want to if I remove that section first, I can see the gallbladder, make sure I don't puncture that and spoil any meat. So the first thing you'll see is their rib cage going straight through here. Okay. So I'm going to make my first cut basically from this fin here to the pectoral fin, just behind it. And I want to be far enough behind this rib cage there to make sure I don't puncture the internal sac where all the internal organs are. So basically I'll just make my cut straight down, or a little bit angled down, just like so. Okay, and then I'm gonna go straight back toward the tail, right along the backbone. So I just turn my knife to the side and then just slide down. So there you have it. There's one tail section right here. I think what I'll do is I'll just do each section individually. I'll show you what I do with this section. I usually cut off all the sections and then basically take the skin off and cut them up individually. But for this demonstration, I'm gonna just do it each section at a time just to show you what I do. All right. So here's the tail section. As you see, there's hardly any blood or anything. That's what bleeding does for you. I'm gonna make a little handle here. I always get it closer to the edge of the table, so make sure I believe you can see that. All right, so I'm not gonna go all the way down. There's red meat along the skin of all catfish. The bigger the catfish, the more red meat they have. But I'm just gonna guide my knife right above that red meat. Actually, you can kind of hear it if you have it just right. So let me just show you. Lay my fillet down flat, and you can just about hear it coming off. Just like that. As you see, here's all the red meat left on the skin. So I can throw that away. There's a small piece that I missed here. I'm just going to shave that off so it's gone. And then you've got the lateral line. There is red meat on the lateral line, so I'm going to cut that out next. I'm just going to make a light incision there. One here, I want to save as much meat as I can. Always flip it over. And I'll just slightly squirt on the other side, just like so. And there you have it. 2 pieces of meat. I just have my clean bowl here, put those 2 pieces in, and then I go to the next section. I'm going to go ahead and take the other tail section off real fast, and then I'll show you the shoulder meat. Okay, I just removed the other tail section. So now I'm going to position this fish where I can get the shoulder meat. I'm just going to again show you just one side. I'll show you completely how I get the meat off the shoulder and take the skin off. And then I'll get the other side and then go on toward the cheek meat. So, alright, so I'm just going to make a light incision straight across the top, right where the backbone would be. And in doing so, you can pretty much see the muscle group there. There is a bone that comes out on the top dorsal fin just to the right, so you have to go out a little bit, but this lets you get a very close cut right next to the backbone. You can really get to where you don't miss much meat at all. So I'm just going all the way to the bottom until I hit the rib cage. And then if you see, here's red meat here. That's the top of the ribs there. I'm going to get my fillet knife. I'm going to go all the way down, and then I'm just going to cut across. And I'm going to take this whole shoulder off, just like that. Again, you see I'm not missing any meat at all. Get the whole shoulder done. Move the fish a little bit closer to the camera. Alright, just like so. I'm going to turn it to where the thin side, or the most narrow side of the skin, is here. That's the side I'm going to be cutting from. I'm going to move the fish back toward the edge of the table where it's easier to get closer to the skin. Again, you're not going to go all the way to the skin. Just float your knife right above it and just remove it. Like so. As you see, there's hardly any rib meat. This is the meat that is right above the rib. It's just a really small section. I'll just trim that away. Another nice piece of meat. That's the shoulder. I'm going to cut the other shoulder off. Put this in my pot. And then when I get that done, I'll show you how I get the cheek meat. But I'm going to make it a cut right behind the eyeball. And the eyeball goes back in behind the eye. I try not to cut into that. I don't want to rupture that and get the liquid in my meat. So I'm going to make one incision there. Okay. And you can feel it. Actually, I could have gone down a little bit more. And I believe I will get a little bit more meat. But you can feel the meat, the soft area. It's not much on this one, but it's enough. It's worth getting. I want to go around like so. And then down. And you can pretty much just cut that tendon there. Go all the way down. Cut the opposite side. I'm trying to get this at an angle where you can see and not have my hands in the way. So there you have it. Here's the cheek meat. You don't want to miss it. It's good. Just fillet your cheek meat right off the skin, like so. Got another piece of meat. Alright, I'm going to turn the camera off for a second. I'll get the opposite side, and then I'll be back with you and we'll get the belly meat. So right behind the pectoral fin, I'm going to cut going toward the head, just straight down, and get as much of that meat as I can. Okay. When you cut, you'll actually see the body cavity. You're going to be cutting into the body cavity. I think the first thing you'll see is going to be like the swim bladder. Turn this around where you can see it. cut into it just a little bit, and then you can actually start pulling up on it. Here's the ribs here. You're going to get close to the ribs. You want to get as much meat as you can. There's the swim bladder. All the way down. Cutting right below the ribs. Lots of meat there. Okay. I'll just cut that away. And again, I always start on the right side of the fish when I'm looking at the underside, because on the left side over here is the gallbladder. I always want to make sure I do not puncture that. So you can actually see the gallbladder here, and just from the fish sitting overnight you see where it's tainted the meat just a little bit. So this is half the belly meat. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. And while I'm at this point, there's the belly meat. While I'm at this point, I will go ahead and remove the other side of the belly meat, and then I'm going to show you how I take the skin off the belly meat, as well as the internal skin off the belly meat. There's the gallbladder. You don't want to puncture that. So here's the fish when you're done. You've got the belly meat off. I left a little bit of meat here, not much. Go ahead and trim that off and save it. This is all bone here. The other side is bone. Like I said, no belly meat left. Got the shoulders, the tail, and the cheek meat. So I'm going to dispose of this. I'm going to be right back, and I'll show you how I get the skin off the belly meat. So I'm going to start on this edge here, and I'm going to just fillet the belly meat off the skin, just as if it were any other fillet. I'll move it closer to the edge of the table where it's easier for me to get down low on it. Again, you do not want to get too close to the skin, because there's not much red meat on the belly, but there is a lot of fat, so I don't want to get all that fat. So just shave it right off the skin, just like so. Alright, so what you're left with is all the fat. There's a lot of fat there, a little bit of red meat, and that's all on the skin, so we can throw that away. Alright, so we got the skin side prepared. Just want to roll it over now, and this was the internal skin. I'm going to remove it the same way. So I'm going to start here on this side, and I'll just fillet that right off. Again, get closer to the table. Make sure you can still see that. And I'm just going to fillet that right off that internal skin. Just like so. But I did cut through the skin, as you see here. So I'm just going to start on the other side here and remove it. Just like so. Alright, so here's the belly meat. Half of it anyway. Again, as you see, there's not much blood if you bleed your catfish. I'm going to put this in the meat pile here. Again, this is just the meat off of one fish. And I'm going to take the skin off the other side. Alright guys, that's the way I like to clean my catfish. I know it's not the only way. It's the way I prefer. So, little how-to tutorial. Appreciate you watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon.